Hey guys, let's talk Seiko, specifically the Pressage line. Probably Seiko's mid-tier collection, a step above Seiko 5s, but a step below Grand Seiko. A rather wide range in this collection, ranging from a couple of $100s to even a couple of thousands of dollars. So we're just going to talk the good, the bad, and the ugly with the Seiko Pressage collection, determine whether or not these watches are worth your money, and of course, your time. Let's do it. So I have here a Seiko Cocktail Time, reference SRPD37, a relatively new color to the Seiko Cocktail Time collection here, in green this time. I would say green is the new blue, and it's trending that way, and I love it because the green used here is absolutely gorgeous. It's a dark forest green that changes from black to dark green to even turquoise depending on the lighting, and I think this is just absolutely gorgeous. So the Seiko Cocktail Time models are probably one of the more famous models within the Pressage line, and I'm going to use this watch as a base to talk about Seiko Pressage, Seiko, and of course the Cocktail Time collections, and go through the good, the bad, and the ugly as suggested in the introduction. Let's start off with the goods. And I'll first introduce the brand Seiko, right? Not much introduction needed here, and for greater details, you can refer to my Seiko 5 video. But I would say the key point is Seiko is more than just your cheap quartz watches in department stores. Seiko makes amazing mechanical timepieces. The Seiko 5 collection, which is these $100 entry-level watches, really play a great role in the market today. The Seiko Pressage line is kind of that middle ground between the cheaper mechanical timepieces and Grand Seiko. They range from typically a couple of $100s to even a couple of thousand. Seiko has really been pushing the limits of the Pressage line as of late. This particular watch retails for $425. It can be had with discounts and online for maybe $300, and I'll evaluate it as such. Let's talk about the goods. First off, it's difficult to go further without talking about this dial, and I already kind of talked about it because I'm just so excited for this dial. Absolutely gorgeous, very difficult to capture on the camera, but you can kind of see here just the attention to details and all the striations required to make this dial and to have this dial play in the light the way it does. For a sub $500 in-house watch, this is just absolutely amazing. The color palette is also very nice. In addition to this green, you have this really nice polished gold second hand here that just plays so well. Green and yellow or green and gold is just a perfect color combination. I'll point out a couple of other things I like about the Seiko Pressage watches and Seiko watches in general, right? The Japanese just do such a great job in terms of polishing and especially on their dial furnishings. So you can see, for example, here on the hours markers, they're not simply batons. They're quite three-dimensional in terms of the facets. There are three faces on this, and my camera is losing focus with all this light being shined on it. There's actually three surfaces on these hour markers, and they're all well polished. So it just plays in the light really well. It's not a simple thing to do. They could have just slapped on, one-dimensional batons, but they did not. And so this is a good angle here, and you can see how that plays. In addition, the hours and the minutes hands are also well designed as well. So you can see here, and I'm going to play with the light a little bit. It's not just a simple hour and second or hour and minutes hand. They're actually polished on one side, so you can see how the light's playing with the polished side, but brushed or satin finish on the other. So you can see how the light's not playing as well on the other side. It's only playing with one side here. So again, just great attention to detail. Really, this whole design is meant for the watch to just play with the light and for you to almost just stare at this watch for hours on end in different lightings because there are so many different things going on with the furnishing. I love it. The movement, I would say, is another positive or slightly a negative as well. It's a fairly industrial movement, right? But it has all the things you would want. It's you can hand wound it. It's automatic as well. There's hacking seconds functionality, a date functionality. I would say my greatest issue with these Seiko movements is one, the finishing, which how much can you really expect for a sub $500 watch? There's some minor graining on some of the base plates here and this nice kind of gold colored rotor. But besides that, a really industrial looking movement. My bigger issue is going to be the time accuracy, right? So it's a, plus minus 35, 45 second movement. So this is definitely not going to be your accurate timekeeper piece if that's what you're going for. For a gorgeous watch such as this, in terms of what it's offering on the surface, at sub $500 though, what can you really expect, right? My other issue with the Seiko Pressage line, and I would say this is true for most Pressage watches, is I love this domed crystal that they use, but it is not a domed sapphire crystal. It's Seiko's proprietary crystal. They call it hard lax. It's supposedly better than mineral crystal, and I would say it probably is. But again, it's just not sapphire. The way the crystal interacts with light and the way the crystal absorbs different fingerprinting is just different than sapphire, not as good in my opinion. But they do a great job of doming this hard lax, and you can see how just gorgeous the light plays with the crystal at different angles. So what can I say, and it's probably already known if you're watching this video already. The Seiko Pressage line is just an absolute killer in terms of value. They're gorgeous. They're just absolutely gorgeous watches with great attention to detail, especially for the sub 1,000 zones. I would say it gets a little controversial on some of these $3,000, $4,000 Pressage watches, but they do offer typically a really unique piece, such as it's hand finished or painted enamel dials, lacquer dials, or even movements as recent as this year featuring spring drive, which is usually something that's only reserved for the Grand Seiko and Creedor lines. So Seiko Pressage collection, something to definitely look into, and cocktail time watches, I think I would have to agree with all the other YouTuber reviewers out there. Absolutely killer bang for buck.